This is the fascinating story of the rise, fall, and subsequent acquittal of America's former favorite dad. Hoisted into a pedestal as the face and voice of the black community, Bill, one of America's most enduring comics, was on a trajectory like no other. The Cosby Show, Fat Albert, I Spy, sold-out stand-up shows. Cosby had everything in the palm of his hands until allegations of sexual assault came back to haunt him and hold him down.
You feel there's something wrong, 'cause the actions you can't defend, but you're afraid to talk about.
With the Me Too movement in full swing, 60 women have accused Cosby of rape, drug-facilitated sexual assault, and other sexual misconduct practices, dating as far as back as the 60s. Newly released from a Pennsylvania prison cell, follow the journey of the accused and accusers in their fight to be heard for justice and a fair trial in the most high-profile court case in recent memory. William Henry Cosby Jr. grew up in Philadelphia, born to Anna Pearl, a maid, and William Henry Cosby Sr., a mess steward serving in the U.S. Navy. Bill was the oldest of 4 sons, raised among the projects of Philadelphia. Conditions were far from ideal for a kid with lofty ambitions to reach the heights of the idols he'd hear on the radio.
She's known as Jackie Moms Mabley. But we all call her Moms, so what do you say, Moms? Take it away.
That's enough. I'm so tired, just like I have the hardest luck in the world. Now I done lost my job again.
His father became an alcoholic, which had an effect on the financial prosperity of the family.
Working diligently in their laboratories, backed by tireless assistance, are scores of the greatest minds in medical science. At the famed Rockefeller Institute in New York City, an eminent clinical investigator, Dr. Homer F. Swift, endeavors to solve the riddle of rheumatic fever, responsible for the crippling of the young.
By the age of 8, Cosby suffered a great loss when his brother James, the second eldest, died from rheumatic fever in 1947. With money very tight for his family, Cosby started shining shoes and worked at a supermarket during his middle school years. Despite their hardships, Cosby's mother stressed the value of education and learning, often reading books to Bill and his brothers, from literary works by Mark Twain to teaching the morality of the Bible. A gifted storyteller himself, Cosby learned early in life that humor could be used to make friends and ultimately get what he wanted. Cosby excelled at making things up. As one of his teachers once noted, William should become either a lawyer or an actor because he lies so well. He was the class president at school, but faculty members noted his propensity for joking around instead of studying. By his own description, he was the class clown, a bright but unmotivated student. A teacher once told him that he should put all of his performing talents into something more productive, like a school play, rather than in the classroom. Cosby began listening to a wide range of programs, then began to imitate comedians like Jerry Lewis, Jack Benny, and Sid Caesar. Having scored highly in an IQ test, Cosby was enrolled in a school for gifted students. More interested in sports than academia, he struggled to adapt and failed 10th grade twice.
Play it like you're playing for one of them big people, you know. Make it pretty and one of them symphonic stuff, all that stuff. Hey, honey, make me look like Lena Horne if you possibly can up there, Mr. Lightfan. That's better, baby. Come on, Luther. Knock me out, Luther. Fine, fine.
When he was just 16, Bill enlisted in the Navy and worked as a physical therapist, aiding the recovery of horrifically wounded Korean War victims. The experience exposed what was now evident to him. Bill immediately realized the benefits of an education and ruled his decision to drop out. He obtained his high school equivalency diploma while still enrolled in military service. Shortly after joining, Cosby came home and attended Temple University, where he studied physical education through a scholarship.
On your marks.
Having excelled in the Navy's track program, Bill pursued sports, excelling in track running and as a fullback on the university's American football team. However, away from the fields of play, he continued to hone his talent for comedy, working during the nights as bartender at the Cellar club in Philadelphia. Bill became fully aware of his ability to make people bowl over with laughter. Tips increased with the sharpening of his talent as he began to dream of a life in the spotlights. From the club in Philly, he ventured on to the Big Apple, searching for a career in comedy. He was an overnight success after appearing at the Gaslight Cafe at the beginning of 1961. In the summer of '63, Cosby received national exposure on NBC's The Tonight Show. This led to a recording contract with Warner Brothers Records, where he related a series of comedy albums.
How you gonna do it? Gonna make it rain for 1,000 days and drown them right out. Right. Listen, do this, you'll save water. Let it rain for 40 days and 40 nights and wait for the sewers to back up. Right.
There was growing freedom throughout the '60s. Comics were able to explore controversial and sometimes risque material. Cosby was criticized about the absence of race as a topic within his routines. He preferred to tell humorous relocation of his childhood, defending his choice by saying, "A white person listens to my act and he laughs." And he thinks, yeah, that's the way I see it too. We both see things the same way. That must mean that we are alike, right? So I figure, this way, I'm doing as much for good race relations as the next guy. Cosby met his wife, Camille Hanks, a student at the University of Maryland while he was performing stand-up in Washington, D.C. in the early 1960s. They exchanged vows on January 25th, 1964.
Oh, I feel fine. I could have been doing something else.
Well, I get my fare home. That's what I want to know. Depends on how I do, right?
Excuse me, but the spy is here. Bill Cosby.
Bill Cosby is here, the spy.
I got a story here.
No, you mumble when you tell stories.
But I
mumbler.
gotta tell my story.
Tell you.
No.
About the
No
time.
ice spot.
The worst story teller I've ever
It's going to
heard.
take long.
Oh, my heavens, I'll tell you.
No, I tell great stories.
Yeah, sure.
In 1965, Cosby was cast alongside Robert Culp in the I Spy espionage adventure series on NBC.
Bill Cosby. All kinds of people sitting at tables, dancing, and having a wonderful time. Nancy was a very good hostess and said hello to everybody, like Robert Culp, who came with his friend Bill Cosby. They have a television program together, you know.
I Spy broke racial barriers and became the first weekly dramatic television series to feature an African American in a starring role. Initially, NBC executives were concerned that some affiliates might be unwilling to carry the series. However, as the 1965 season was nearing broadcast, only 4 stations in Georgia, Florida, and Alabama declined to feature the show. The rest of the country became captivated with the show's exotic locales and the authentic chemistry of the biracial stars, visible through receiving one of the highest ratings on the television calendar.
Debbie Reynolds chatting with comic Bill Cosby is one of the founders of the Thalians, and it's...
Cosby's integration into the television industry paved the way for African American performers. his characters in the TV show was not a subordinate, but an equal. Bill cemented his place as an actor in Hollywood by winning 3 Emmys for his role of Alexander Scott in I Spy. When looking at the period in which the show was airing, America was still going through a very tumultuous time. He represented in the era of racial segregation what a desegregated world might look like. Throughout the series' 3-year run, Cosby was repeatedly confronted with the question of race. For him, it was enough that I Spy portrayed 2 men who worked as equals despite their different races. However, critics took the show to task for not having a black character engage the racial issues that inflamed the country at the time. Cosby was relieved when the series ended, enabling him to concentrate on his family and return to live performing. Not long after I Spy ended, Cosby started his own sitcom.
Lord, gonna get some raggets and some rolls and reasonizers. Every day, long as I'm away.
The Bill Cosby Show ran for 2 seasons from 1969 to 1971 and featured the comedian as a gym teacher at a Los Angeles high school. While only a modest critical success, the show was a ratings hit, finishing 11th in his first season. After The Bill Cosby Show left the air, he returned to his education, actively pursuing an advanced degree in education from the University of Massachusetts. Around the same time, he appeared on the educational children's series, The Electric Company.
I want to know why this sign says Honest John when all them things you're saying ain't true. I lie.
He developed the animated series Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids, which he based on many of his childhood experiences. Some schools used the program as a teaching tool, and Cosby himself wrote his thesis on it in order to obtain his doctorate in education in 1977, a seismic shift from the boy who had dropped out of high school. During the 70s, Cosby contributed to a slew of successful comedic films, working alongside other African-American actors such as Sidney Poitier to establish the emerging blaxploitation genre that tackled the issue of black stereotypes in film.
Now look, all we got to do is go on inside, see this cat, Little Seymour, and ask him about our property. Now come on. You see what I saw? Yes, I saw what you saw. And don't be worrying about nothing, because the dude mess with me, I'm gonna knock him out.
It's time that some people were reminded that actors are people.
I, Ronald Reagan, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
September 1984 would see Bill's trajectory to fame take a steep incline with the debut of The Cosby Show.
Obviously, to build up to having a TV show with your name on it like that, you're going to have to already have this track record and a body of work that people are going to recognize and buy into that brand. And The Cosby Show was just that. He already had all these other enterprises going into that. So that was kind of, if you would, the jewel on top of all that, that all these other steps had been working up to. Because of his comedy, he would be on shows like Sesame Street.
5, 6.
As a kid growing up in the 80s, you already knew who he was
6.
before The Cosby Show even happened.
6.
So he was kind of a safe entity. Eddie Murphy, for example, dangerous, saying swear words, crazy. Bill Cosby was not like that. Bill Cosby was the face of Pudding Pops, which was like a treat that you could eat after school. Bill Cosby had a cartoon. He was parent approved, and The Cosby Show just took it that one step further. The Cosby Show was an absolute cultural phenomenon. It just expanded your worldview without you being told that you had such a small palette that you were working from.
Tempest? It's great. I mean, it's a learning experience almost. Well, it is. I mean, to work with somebody so experienced and, you know, a veteran of the business. And he's very funny.
You can't help but be natural with Bill because he's such a genius at what he does. And he's, I think a lot that I've learned is a lot like timing and stuff, delivering lines, and he's fantastic to work with.
I don't know. I auditioned like every other actress. I used my own experience as a mother. I just looked for some truth and a lot of love.
Cosby Show was must-see TV. Like Thursday at swim practice, we'd be talking about, oh my God, what's gonna be on Cosby Show tonight? What's gonna happen? Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Everybody would be talking about it. Your teachers would be talking about it. You had to see it. They were just like us and aspirational. Like I wanted to know the Cosby family. I wanted to be friends with the Cosby family. I wanted my family to have as much money as the Cosby family.
I know people making, the husband makes $50,000, the wife makes $50,000. They don't live in the projects. They buy a $300,000 home someplace. They both have a car. I mean, these people are living according to whatever. And you can smell the problems because of the color of the Huxtables. And it isn't just the Caucasian critics. I mean, there are African Americans who have a problem looking at the Huxtables, and they all vary. Their reasons vary. But the Huxtables were put there and are there to aid and abet the parent. It is not their idea to show that we are perfect. For instance, I didn't need a doctorate in education. I went after it because I had something to say. I want to say that I am a person who feels that you can take a family and you can have children and they can be almost real, close to real, and you can develop a story around one particular central theme, make it funny, and without getting into sexual parts or have someone sit on a broken glass to get a laugh, that people will laugh at the attitudes of the actors.
You cannot underestimate the importance, though, of The Cosby Show because it really set in motion a lot of the things that went forward into the 90s. You have things like The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. You have Oprah Winfrey. I would say even in some ways you could say hip-hop becoming mainstream and influential in the way that it does, because before The Cosby Show, you know, you had, even with MTV, you had very few African-American artists on MTV. The Cosby Show was coming into your house every single week, so it normalized seeing upper middle class black faces on a weekly basis. So it just made it part of your everyday life. It made it something that was expected instead of extraordinary. So therefore, when these other personalities and shows came along, it was something people wanted and demanded.
You have to understand that this industry is run by Anglo-Americans. And I didn't make a breakthrough. Someone opened the door and said, you can come in here. And I got a lot of help. And so I see myself as that kind of person, regardless of race, color, or creed. Having all colors work. When you see my crew, you don't see one, you see everybody. And that's the fun of it.
Bill, what gives you the greatest pleasure? I mean, you're very successful in television, make films, commercials, writing, live performance. Which one's the favorite thing for you to do?
It's only one. Whenever I have an idea and I think it's funny, I have some place to share it. And that's wonderful.
The Cosbys was very 80s. The mom was a lawyer, the dad was a doctor, the clothes, the over everything, and you know, like the, not just the fashion, but that kind of 80s vibes to it. And the 90s were just a different moment in time in terms of, you have Bill Clinton coming into office, you have grunge music, just history was changing a little bit, and I don't know if the Cosby Show quite fit into that in the same sort of way that it worked in the 80s.
Any regrets in your career?
You know, I had a couple, but I forgot them. So they must not have been important.
January 22nd, 2005, having endured sleepless nights, flashbacks, and nightmares, Andrea Constant files a police report with the Durham Regional Police, alleging that Bill Cosby sexually assaulted her in Montgomery, Pennsylvania in January 2004, triggering a criminal investigation by Montgomery County detectives.
I'd never heard anything against Bill Cosby, but I'm never surprised. I should say I'm rarely surprised when I hear anything about anyone, because when people have that much power and that much money, there's so much at stake in terms of money can pretty much cover up anything, and everybody wants power, everybody wants fame, everybody wants access, and when you have that much of those things, it's easy for someone with lesser of that to just be silenced. So I wasn't really that surprised. I was disappointed, I'd say, more than surprised.
February 10th, 2005, after hearing Constant's police report filing, Tamara Green alleges similar abuse by Cosby dating back to the 70s. February 17th, 2005. A week later, a press release from Montgomery County District Attorney Bruce Castor Jr. is made public. The verdict? Bill Cosby will not be criminally prosecuted, citing insufficient credible and admissible evidence. March 2005. Failing to secure a criminal prosecution, Constant versus Cosby ends up in a civil trial. Civil filings reveal depositions from 13 Jane Does claiming sexual assault at the hands of the man America once called its favorite dad. He acquired drugs to give women for sex. He agreed to an interview in the National Enquirer in return for blocking an undisclosed allegation from hitting the press. He sent payments to multiple women and kept the affairs secret from his wife. The 4 days of depositions by Andrea Constant's legal team unearthed unsavory practices, testified by Bill himself. In the build-up to Janice Dickinson's book release, she appears on The Howard Stern Show, exposing the legal parameters that has muffled her voice.
Did you turn down Bill Cosby?
Bill Cosby was the only guy I couldn't write about in the book because HarperCollins was afraid of lawsuits.
But what happened? He got you? So he nailed you. You had sex with Bill Cosby? So
you're funny.
You're saying that the book company won't allow you to write about certain people?
Too afraid of that one. Wouldn't touch that one. And I don't want to get near that because I don't have the shekels that you do or that Cosby does.
Are you?
So I'm afraid somebody's going to come out.
I don't know anything about this. How did it even come out?
The guy's a bad guy. Let me just say that. He's not a nice guy. He preys on women that just come out of rehab. I'll say that.
Any shine left on the embattled comedian's character was rapidly tarnishing.
It's very difficult because I do get asked this a lot about artists. If they say or do something now, does that damage their art, or does that damage what they did before, something they said before, or a movie or a record that they created in the past? And I think you have to be very careful about not taking what we know now and grafting it into something that happened in the past. You have to separate to some degree the art from the artist. And you cannot take away what the Cosby Show did. We wouldn't have as many African Americans, gay folk, different looking people, different sounding people, people from different backgrounds on TV, in films, even in the music industry without the Cosby Show. That is something that you cannot deny, and that's something that you cannot take away from Bill Cosby no matter what. What you can say is his actions are deplorable and disgusting, and we need to be very, very careful and look at what circumstances led to that being allowed to go on for so long. But I think in terms of the legacy of the Cosby Show, we need to try to really appreciate those and have that as something that's important and something that is really something we should cherish away from what he did as an individual.
By June 9th, 2006, two brave women, Beth Ferrier and Barbara Bowman, revealed themselves through Philadelphia print media as two of the 13 unnamed accusers. November 8th, 2006. 21 months since the inception of the lawsuit, Constance's civil case abruptly ends when Cosby settles outside of court for $3 million.
I don't know if we can make a difference, but today we are here together, and that is what is important. And maybe today we won't win, maybe we will, but there are other battles in the future that we can. I want every survivor here to know it is never your fault, no matter what. And maybe today feels like another instance of your voice being ripped from your throat and your mouth covered. But I hear you. Someone hears you. And I believe you. I believe survivors, and I believe in survivors. I believe in our resilience, and our power, and in our ability to change the world. Love, not hate, makes America great.
Casting couch culture in Hollywood is a real thing. It's difficult because when you want something so much, you're pretty much willing to sacrifice anything to make your career come true. So even if you've signed an NDA, that doesn't mean that you are going to be safe from something happening to you. So if a director says, oh, come up to my room for a drink, or come over here and sit next to me, or they put a hand on your leg or something like that, there is a certain amount of expectation that is normalized in the entertainment industry for sure. I got into an argument a couple years ago with my aunt about it because she came of age like in the 70s working in the entertainment industry, and she's just so vehemently like pro Me Too. And I was saying to her, I'm like, well, what do you think's gonna happen if you go up to somebody's room? Like, what do you think this, that, and the other? And it made me scared how calloused I'd become, because coming up in the entertainment industry, I was just so used to your ass getting grabbed, or just that kind of walking in on some guy masturbating and you're expected to kind of join into it if that's what it's going to mean for you to get the next step up. It's just all part, it's just as normal as going and reading lines or going to a promotional party to listen to a record. It's just part of the whole business. So when Me Too started, it was both a relief, but also it wasn't surprising to me, to be fair, because it'd been going on as long as I can remember.
Time passed, and the allegations soon drifted into obscurity until one segment in a comedian's act reignited the outcry for justice. October 16th, 2014. Comedian Hannibal Buress delivers a set in the city of Philadelphia, Cosby's home county.
Because comedy is subjective, and I'm not for everybody.
Unaware to him, his joke ridiculing the past alleged actions of Bill Cosby goes viral. The mainstream attention garnered becomes the catalyst for a resurgence of claims. The public outcry begins. November 10th, 2014. In an attempt to quash the increasingly damaging accusations, Cosby's public relations team devises a way to engage creatively with fans, expecting to deflect the heightened media interest into his alleged exploitative behavior. Posted on Twitter, Cosby invites the social media world to meme him. November 15th, 2014. In a revealing interview on NPR's Weekend Edition, Bill's refusal to answer an unexpected question on the matter only leads to more questions. Barbara Bowman, one of the initial 13 accusers in Constant vs. Cosby, wrote an opinion piece in the Washington Post only 2 days prior, questioning why it took 30 years for people to believe her. To many, silence speaks louder than words.
This question gives me no pleasure, Mr. Cosby, but there have been serious allegations raised about you in recent days. You're shaking your head no. I'm in the news business. I have to ask the question. Do you have any response to those charges? Shaking your head no. There are people who love you who might like to hear from you about this. I want to give you the chance. All right?
Bowman's renewed effort to highlight her alleged ordeal spurs a slew of fresh allegations towards the now defunct Dad of America. In the days following the prejudicial print piece, Joanne Tarshish, Linda Joy Traits, Janice Dickinson, Teresa Serignes, and Carla Ferrigno, wife of the Incredible Hulk actor, all proclaimed the pain they had allegedly suffered at the comedian's hands. Lawyers for Cosby label the accounts of rape as decades old and discredited. Prior to the tsunami of allegations against his conduct, Bill spent most of 2014 preparing to take a new show to air. The resurfaced accusations derailed his plans, forcing NBC to scrap the program. November 23rd, 2014. A former NBC employee discloses to the New York Daily News the tactics used by Cosby keep women silent.
So hush money is what people call cash that is given to them on the sly to keep quiet. So I give you money, you're not supposed to tell anybody what the money is about, who you got money for, or even that you received cash. So it's exactly what it is, cash to keep quiet.
Frank allegedly provided hush payments on behalf of Bill to 8 women, a common practice amongst those in positions of power within our society.
What I want to talk about? Talk about the money orders that I have that I had to send to women all over the United States and Europe. I was paying her $2,000. I had to go to 5 different banks because you couldn't make a money order for less than $50. You couldn't go beyond that. So I had to go to 5 banks to get the $2,000 and then send it forwarded to him. It's 4 or 5 different checks. Why would I be sending some woman $2,000? Suspicious.
Cosby had him send thousands of dollars of hush money to a slew of women to keep them quiet about some inappropriate interactions that happened between them and Cosby.
November 26, 2014. Within a week, Cosby resigns from 2 positions he once held with academia as trustees for Temple University and honorary co-chair for the University of Massachusetts. With every fresh allegation, Cosby's larger-than-life persona shrunk. In front of the news media, more women come forward with claims of sexual abuse.
For any woman who claims that she is a victim, Bill Cosby could agree to waive the statute of limitations and invite the accusers to sue. Then Bill Cosby and his accusers would have an opportunity to go before a judge and a jury, and everybody wins.
When I arrived backstage, Mr. Cosby greeted me and handed me a cappuccino, telling me that he made me my favorite coffee. And after I drank it, I felt dizzy and lost consciousness. The next thing I knew, hours had passed. I woke up in the back of my car, alone. My clothes were a mess. My bra was undone.
He approached me from behind and reached over my shoulder and grabbed my right wrist. I was stunned and angry because He had no right to do that. And I didn't know why he would behave that way. His behavior was like that of a predator. Thank you.
He laid next to me on the bed and began pinching my left nipple, thumping on my leg while he was grunting. I could not open my eyes. I couldn't move or say anything. I felt something warm on my legs, and I blacked out. 13 to 16 hours later, I woke up to him clapping his hands, saying, "Daddy says wake up."
But one damaging claim sends the issue back to court. December 2nd, 2014. In a new civil suit filed, Cosby is alleged to have performed a sex act in 1974 at the Playboy Mansion on Judy Hulth, who was only 15 at the time. Cosby refused the claim and counters with his own lawsuit stating he was a target of an extortion campaign.
We don't take kindly to liars. Not business as usual. Stuff has happened.
From Bill Cosby, the end result for me is that folks who might be perpetrators know that there are consequences, and also on the more positive side, that we continue this conversation that's really been ramping up in the last 5 years about ending rape culture.
Lynch mob justice is not justice. Bill is innocent until proven guilty, okay? Due process must be sacrosanct. The rule of law must be applied. You know, lynching him in the public is, in effect, poisoning any jury pool that could be convened to try Bill.
As Me Too started to gain momentum, you also had celebrities like Whoopi Goldberg and singer Jill Scott, when it came to the Bill Cosby case, backing up Cosby and really thinking that the allegations against him were false and they just could not possibly be true.
Seen on The View, Whoopi vocally supports Cosby, implying some accusers were deceitful.
One of the things that getting accused of a lot of stuff when you're famous does is it opens the door for everybody to come out and say, and me too, boss, and me too. It's like a Bugs Bunny cartoon. Yeah. So you have to really take a minute and follow the evidence, follow what happens. We see that, other friends of ours in a similar position of being accused of something, so cops are still investigating. We'll know when we know.
After so many different cases had gone to court, they retracted and had to go back and say, okay, yes, we believe the women. But I think that the issue of race also did play into it. Like, how can you be saying this about this amazing figure in the Black community after everything he's done? And you see that, I think, in other cases too. You see that with, for example, R. Kelly. When there's this kind of abuse, there's other factors that can come into play in terms of why we may doubt the validity of the women or the people involved.
December 3rd, 2014. Breaking his long silence through Twitter, Cosby sends his family's thanks to the stars who in recent days publicly defended him. Since the remarks were made, both Whoopi Goldberg and Jill Scott have distanced themselves from their comments and reversed their stance.
All right, so
they're all melted.
All right, so we're at the car.
Got it.
All right, and
what's your favorite pudding flavor?
Laura's
Chocolate.
Laura's gonna be in the car with you, and I'll meet you around the block when
Heard you twice. Heard you twice.
All right, here we go.
December 16th, 2014. On grounds that the statute of limitations had passed, the case brought against Cosby relating to the claim of underage sexual exploitation is thrown out. On the same day, 3 more women are unveiled to the media with fresh accusations. Felicia Rashad, the actress who played the better half of Mr. Huxtable in The Cosby Show, has her say on the matter in an exclusive ABC News interview, suggesting a more nefarious plot is at play.
He's a genius. He is generous, he's kind, he's inclusive. What has happened is declaration in the media of guilt. Without proof, what I said is this is not about the women. This is about something else. This is about the obliteration of legacy.
Throughout 2015, as accusations continue to flood in, waves of women are sat in front of the media to tell their stories.
These new accusers are coming forward now, either because they want to support other alleged victims or because they feel that they could no longer hold the secret within them anymore. Linda alleges that the following happened. She says, "I felt Cosby's left hand gently grab my long hair behind my head. His giant frame blocked the door, so if anyone should try to enter, they would not be able to see what he was doing. As I looked up, his penis was out of his pants, and he shoved it into my mouth. His attack was fast, with surgical precision, and surprise was on his side."
That is the last thing that I remember until I woke up about 5:15 in the afternoon. I was shocked. I didn't know how I had lost so much time. My boyfriend, who later became my fiancé and husband, was supposed to pick me up at 6 o'clock. My clothes were thrown all over the room, and I felt semen on the small of my back and all over me. It was disgusting. Bill obviously did not use a condom, and there was no lunch, and Bill was nowhere to be seen. I was confused and ashamed and never told anyone about what happened to me.
I remember eating and watching most of the show, but right before the show was over, everything became a blur. I believe someone had put something in my drink. I don't remember leaving the dinner show, and when I came to, I was lying in Bill Cosby's bed.
Bill would fly me back and forth between New York City and Buffalo. He waited almost 2 years before he tried anything on me because he knew it's okay. Because he knew that I was a virgin and I was raised as a Christian. Well, then yelled, "Well, you're never going to make it in this business unless you sleep with me." And I responded, "Shame on you, Mr. Father Figure of America. Your kids are older than I am."
I felt unusually dizzy. After a while, Mr. Cosby started getting fresh. He was touching me and rubbing my leg. The next thing I remember, I was waking up in my car, my head hanging down from the seat, alone. I knew I was drugged. When I got home, I realized my panties were missing and I never found them. I believe that Mr. Cosby took them after he assaulted me.
A man grabbed me from behind very firmly and quite purposefully. He had his arm on my waist and forcefully pulled me into his private area saying, "Hey, back that thing up here, girl. Back it on up." I felt his private parts against my backside. I cried out and tried to pull away from his vice-like grip on my waist.
He leaned me up against the chest, raised my robe, and raped me. Next, Cosby took me into the dining room and laid me on the floor, where he continued his assault. I did not realize until last year that The other women were telling me their stories and that they were drugged.
There are still more alleged victims who will be courageous enough to come forward in the future. It is vital that the women who assert that they are victims speak out.
July 6, 2015. In responding to some of the new allegations, Cosby breaches the terms of a non-disclosure agreement. Constant files a motion to have her deposition unsealed. The grant allows court documents from the 2005 lawsuit to be revealed, showing Cosby had admitted to giving quaaludes to women with whom he wanted to have sex. The situation went from bad to worse. July 26, 2015. Spelman College returns the remaining funds of its $20 million donation to the historically black school while ceasing the professorship in honor of him. Both the Marquette and Fordham universities rescind the honorary degrees bestowed upon him. Tufts University, Goucher College, and Amherst College follow suit, the latter being the first time in the college's history. December 14th, 2015. 7 of Cosby's accusers received countersuits, claiming defamation against the once revered comic. By the end of the year, over 50 women have come forward and recounted their ordeals, most throughout 2015.
The picture has nothing to do with the illegal problem at all. Not a thing. The picture was there long before these people even came about with the legal problem. But I don't believe those women at all. I really don't.
Bill Cosby been a role model for, 50 years or more? Then these people come out of the woodwork with all this allegations or whatever. They had to prove that, really.
I think that it's not somebody that should be glorified in public. But yeah, I think it's also important that it's proven.
Bill was free. Until now.
Some of them
right.
who were shooting over there moved down there. No
You walked away.
Okay, thank you.
No, Mr. Cosby.
Yes, sir. That's enough.
Mr. Cosby.
December 30th, 2015. For the first time, only 2 weeks before the statute of limitations would have expired, Bill Cosby is charged with drugging and sexually assaulting Andrea Constant in 2004. Cosby remains silent on the plea and is free on a $1 million bail.
This indictment today undermines his claims to be a consensual sexual partner. There's a certain vindication for my clients who have been saying this is the type of person that would do this kind of thing.
May 24th, 2016. Montgomery County Courthouse. Failing to nullify the case through objections, Cosby takes the stand and enters a plea of not guilty.
Good morning, everyone. This is a great day for the state of Colorado. It's a great day because the doors of justice are open for crime victims who have been victimized by sexual assault.
Today, I'm very happy to be here in Colorado to witness Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper's signing of HB 16-1260 into law. I represent more than 30 accusers of Bill Cosby, including Denver resident Beth Ferrier. Many of my clients who allege that they were drugged and raped are prevented from having their cases ever considered for prosecution by the district attorney in Colorado because of the statute of limitations, the arbitrary time period set by law. In other words, it's too late for a criminal prosecution, even if the district attorney concludes that there's sufficient evidence to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. As lawyers and as legislators, we should ask who benefits from a relatively short statute of limitations for rape and sexual assault and who is hurt by it. The answer is simple. The victim is hurt and the rapist is helped. She must live with the knowledge that she is being denied justice, and he is happy that he is free to rape again. I commend her tireless and successful efforts to win passage of HB 161260, the bill signed into law today, which will extend the statute of limitations in Colorado to 20 years for criminal prosecution for rape.
June 10th, 2016, Colorado. Seen as a barrier for victimized women, Beth Ferrier, one of the Cosby accusers, is successful in altering the status quo surrounding the statute of limitations.
Each and every time we had a hurdle with Gloria telling me, Beth, be the change, do something good. And I didn't know what to do. June 8th, my birthday, Rhonda, finally, we heard from the governor's office finally that this was the final day that that bill, House Bill 1260, could be signed. And Gloria, my attorney who represents me, I am a victim of sexual assault, drugged and sexually assaulted by Bill Cosby here in Denver in 1986. So I'm here to tell you, you can survive. You have to speak up, and that's what I want the community in Colorado to know. Do not stay quiet. Do not stay in the shadows. Don't be afraid anymore. Don't be depressed. It's not a bad thing. It's not about you. It's your voice.
July 18th, 2016. In a drastic turn of events, sources closest to Cosby share news of his physical deterioration. Now suffering from the degenerative eye condition, keratoconus, Bill is completely blind. For critics who draw comparisons with Harvey Weinstein's Walker, it could be seen as a sympathy tactic. September 9th, 2016. In a statement read by Cosby's lawyers referencing the civil rights leaders of the past, his defense put forward the notion that Cosby is the target of racial discrimination. It is the first time their accusation is put in the public sphere.
Mr. Cosby has spent his entire life trying to fight against injustice and trying to help other people overcome racism and prejudice. He, through the power and brilliance of his comedy, through the power of his words, and through his countless acts of charity, he has given a generation of Americans the ability to have pride, to have hope. He taught an absolute generation of Americans to trust in America, to trust that in America, regardless of who you are or where you're from or the color of your skin, that your courts and the media will treat you fairly and with decency. That trust has been shaken. The media has presumed him guilty, not innocent. The media has championed the causes of his accusers with little thought to investigation, with little thought to challenging or exposing the motivations behind any accusations. And in the courts, well, we have seen a prosecutor break a promise, a time-honored promise in this case. And for those that have stood up for Mr. Cosby, for those that have proclaimed his innocence, well, they have been sued, and they have been vilified, and they have been silenced, and they have been ignored, but no more. The time has come for somebody somewhere to shine a spotlight on the trampling of this man's civil rights, and that time is now. A smart man a long time ago said that injustice anywhere is in fact a threat to justice everywhere. Those words were true when they were spoken, and they are true today.
Are you saying that he won't get a fair trial, sir? Because of the lack of corroboration
and the lack of investigation, we have seen a barrage of new accusers claiming Me Too. To accept the assumption of guilty by numbers or guilt by volume is really the same thing as accepting the assumption of guilt before innocence. For Mr. Cosby, this is a version of the shoot now, ask questions later approach to judicial justice that you're seeing in the streets. Victims of sexual assault deserve our support and protection. Women should not be objectified, but not at the cost of sacrificing every person's fundamental right to be deemed innocent before proven guilty, to require that the accuser come forward with evidence. To settle for anything less is not women's rights. It's not about feminism. It's about sacrificing civil rights and human rights. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
June 5th, 2017. Cosby, arm in arm with former co-star of The Cosby Show, Keisha Knight Pulliam, arrives in Montgomery to start the trial that will decide his future.
You know, this is never anything that feels good. However, I came to support because this is where you hear the facts. This is where the truth happens. I don't take these charges lightly. I don't condone sexual assault in any way, shape, or form. It's easy to support someone and to be in their corner when things are great, when things are good, but true family, friendship, integrity is how do people show up and support when things aren't looking so great.
This is just the beginning, and we want the citizens of Montgomery County to see that this trial should not be going on. They're wasting the taxpayers' money, and Mr. Cosby should not be here. Mr. Cosby maintains his innocence, and he will be found not guilty of all charges. Thank you.
June 17th, 2017. After 6 days, 52 hours of heated deliberation between the 7 men and 5 women jury ends in a mistrial. The inflamed debate that left one juror with his fist in a wall winds down a 10-2 in favor of a guilty motion. 2 holdouts prevent a guilty verdict.
Well, I wanted to come out and address what we just heard from the judge about a deadlock. Today, we have really seen Mr. Cosby get the justice that he was looking for in Montgomery County.
The judge has announced that the jury has stated that it is deadlocked. However, that does not mean this is over.
Prosecutor Kevin Steele vows to retry the case. January 26, 2018. In a tense turn of events, accusations of prosecutorial misconduct are filed by Cosby's attorneys, citing a withholding and destroying of evidence that could have aided his defense. The evidence in question? An interview conducted with a woman claiming that Constant had told her she had not been sexually assaulted and was instead looking to get money. District Attorney Kevin Steele, in charge of the case, calls the accusations demonstrably false, claiming Cosby's former counsel was aware of the interview prior to the first trial. April 2nd, 2018. The second trial of Constant versus Cosby begins. Cosby continues to deny all charges against him, stating the encounters with Constant were consensual. A week into proceedings, the figure of hush money payments to Cosby's primer accuser is disclosed by the prosecution for the first time. A $3.38 million payment was sent in exchange for silence.
No more silence! Stop sexual violence! No more silence! Our voices will break through! That's why we say Me Too! Our voices will break through! Our voices will break through! That's why we say Me Too! Our voices will break through! Me Too! Our voices will break through!
This case really is a representation of how our country has dealt with sexual violence over the last 50 years. Here we have someone who has not been held accountable until now, and we hope that this time around the jury will come to the right conclusion, because justice needs to be done, not just for Andrea, but for all of his victims and for victims across the country.
People don't get justice every day because someone has power. And it's usually a male who has power who can turn things in his favor. I don't think the Me Too movement is really going to make a difference here. It just showed the large scale of people who are surviving and dealing with the trauma of sexual abuse. And we can't let people go in the court systems anymore and walk out of there free from their crime.
April 26, 2018. After deliberating for the past day, jurors unveiled their verdict. Guilty on 3 felony accounts of aggravated indecent assault.
So today we're finally in a place to say that justice was done. As prosecutors, we have a responsibility to seek justice, and we have to go wherever and to whomever it takes us. And I hope and I pray that our actions have shown that we will stand up with those victims and all women that are out there standing up and telling their truth. We support them and encourage them to keep it up.
It took a lot of courage for her to come back and to do this.
We are so happy that finally we can say women are believed, and not only on #MeToo, but in a court of law where they were under oath, where they testified truthfully.
It is not just a victory for the 62 of us publicly known Cosby survivors whom Gloria Allred has helped give a voice. It is also a victory for womanhood, and it is a victory for all sexual assault survivors, female and male. Last year, when I was sitting in the courtroom of the first trial and the verdict was hung, I left with such a tremendous sense of disappointment, and it became evident to me that the justice system is light years behind modern culture. But today, this jury has shown that what the Me Too movement has saying is that women are worthy of being believed.
So Tom Mesereau, you tried, you failed, the personal attacks did not work. Bill Cosby, 3 words for you: guilty, guilty, guilty! Thank you.
With his reputation already in pieces, news of Bill's guilty verdict pushes the Academy of Motion Pictures and Sciences to expel him. September 24th, 2018, Norristown, Pennsylvania. Under house arrest, Cosby arrives in court to hear his fate. The following day, Judge O'Neill sentences the embattled comedian to 3 to 10 years behind bars and designated as a sexually violent predator.
I'm pleased that Judge O'Neill followed the sentencing guidelines, handed down a fair and significant sentence that reflects the severity of Cosby's crimes and the lifelong impact on Andrea. After 3 years of incarceration, somebody would be eligible for parole, but victims get a say in that now. And that has come, over time, and they get a say. And so this is going to be a process that goes through, but he could serve every day of 10 years at this point, and that's the sentence that he was given.
December 10th, 2019. In their own search for justice, Cosby's counsel receives news of the unanimous judicial decision to reject the appeal, but vowed to appeal to the Supreme Court. June 23rd, 2020. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court agrees to hear Cosby's legal appeal. A date is set for the return of their arguments. December 1st, 2020. Appearing over a video link, attorneys for the jailed star argue the trial should not have come about in the first place, citing a non-prosecution deal with the former Montgomery County District Attorney, Bruce Castor Jr., a deal undisclosed to Constant and her team. The deal that was also never put in writing gave justices a cause for thought. June 30th, 2021. Over 2.5 years into a 3 to 10 year sentencing, Cosby receives the news he had been waiting for. Promise that was made behind closed doors with no written confirmation by the former prosecutor 16 years ago is enough evidence to overturn his 2018 conviction. According to due process, the deal should have prohibited Cosby from being charged or sentenced in the first place. The decision, not based on guilt or innocence, lies within the principle of fairness that underpins due process. The agreement between Cosby and Castor in 2005 must be upheld. The Supreme Court of Pennsylvania orders the release of the man the country once coined America's favorite dad. Cosby walks free.
We're not lying! We believe the survivors! Justice has no deadline! We believe the survivors! SOL! Justice has no deadline! SOL! We believe the survivors! We couldn't be more
And we're going to be coming back out with Brian.
Women you wanted to have sex with! He admitted to purchasing drugs for the purpose of drugging women. Bill Cosby said that. He purchased drugs for the purpose of drugging women. He's a classy man.
And I want to say this about the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, that they were impervious to the court of public opinion, which, frankly, the lower courts were not.
Today, innocence came to Mr. Cosby with the help of these wonderful attorneys.
Yes, yes.
Okay, everybody.
The Supreme Court's opinion did not reject the accusations made by 60 women against Bill Cosby that they had been sexually assaulted. The Supreme Court opinion did not reject the testimony of the 5 women who testified in Mr. Cosby's criminal trial. And by all certainty, it didn't reject the decision of the jury in the criminal trial to find Mr. Cosby guilty of all counts of criminal wrongdoing.
Mr. Cosby, don't say anything, just wave at the British audience. Well, yeah, they're on the phone, they're watching you now. British audience.
Cosby, Mr. Cosby, you must be delighted.
And I'm telling this lady, you had plenty of time while Steve was up here to start talking about a whooping, and you go get a knife and go. Now, what was it you wanted to say? Thank you all. Take care of yourself, and good night.